Alright, hello and welcome everybody. Today we are going to take an existing Age of Empires map and we're going to update it to contain a couple of new biomes that are possible because of the Asian DLC that was released yesterday. So I understand that a lot of people are doing content on the Asian DLC, and I'm not really a big up-to-date Age of Empires guy. Like, I prefer to let other people cover all the stuff that's new, but I do still make random map scripts, and I thought that this would be a good opportunity to show the impact that you could have on a random map script with some of the new objects and terrains and such. And most importantly, I need to update this map anyway. This map that we have that you're looking at right now, this is a remastered version of Ensemble Studios' Prairie. So this map was used in Alchemy League Season 3, and Alchemy League Season 3 was Greek themed. And this map has a Greek theme to support that. So we basically had a bunch of maps in Alchemy League Season 3 that were, many of them were like standard maps, but they were rejiggered, they were redesigned, reimagined a little bit, with some subtle improvements, but then given a Greek finish at the end. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this map and we're going to add some additional biomes to it, because we're actually going to be using this map in Alchemy League Season 5. You see, this map has designation ESR05, which is Ensemble Studios rework number 5. And the particular Ensemble Studios map that we're reworking is Prairie. And Alchemy League Season 7 will consist of a number of reworked Ensemble Studios maps. So although the stream title says Alchemy League Season 6, this is actually for Alchemy League Season 7. So we're going to rework this and upgrade this. I apologize about the constant sipping of the ice water here. I'm dealing with a little bit of pain in my mouth, so that helps me out quite a bit. So I'll be taking frequent breaks during the scripting process to guzzle a little bit of my ice water here. Keep the swelling down. Alright, so we are going to remaster this with at least 3 biomes today. I think we're not going to redesign the map at all, but it's also kind of a demonstration on how to upgrade a map with additional biomes here. So let's go and take a look at the script, which I have on the other screen, and I'm about to pull over, and then we'll go into the screen share. There we go. So, I mean, pretty standard stuff. Developed back in the day. We're going to say remastered by TechChariot. So you can see that it was originally remastered and named Labadi. And it looks like that was done apparently in the year 2000, when I was 9 years old. Wow, that's kind of a mistake. Oh well. We're going to say remastered with additional biomes. With added biomes. By TechChariot. And we do year now. So 2025-04. And today is the 11th. Alright. And this component specification, let's see here. We need to change this. So we no longer have this subfolder here. And then CSRM, ESR, and then it's actually still 5. So if we originally developed for Alchemy League Season 3, we're going to say develop for Alchemy League Season 5, and I'm just going to give myself permission right now in the stream to copy my own work. Okay, so save that, and now if we actually follow this, we can click that, and this will give us the component specification for the map, or it should. That's right. We need to get rid of this .pdf at the end, because we don't do that anymore either. That way, if the revisions change, there we go. If the revisions change, we can just pick the latest one in this folder. So this is it right here. This is our component specification for the map. because our community is professional. It's got a general set of requirements for the Ensemble Studios reworks. It shows us the general land configuration. It breaks it down into different zones, tells us what the elevations and terrains have to be. This specification was actually written with the map already having been built. This was one of the easier ones to write. So all that we got to do is change out the terrains. We don't have to redesign anything or figure out how to meet these requirements. We just have to make sure that whatever we do doesn't significantly impact what's in here. So whatever we do isn't going to become conflicting with this. So that's just kind of a note on the background of this specification, or this map, and the specification that is kind of authorizing it and giving it a mandate to move forward. So if we look here, we've got some terrains which are defined by us manually, and this is actually good stuff. It's a little bit harder to do this way. You're like, oh, you know, what does V stand for? What's number 70? You know, basically the way that RMS works is it takes every single thing and it turns it into a number. Every single terrain, every single object is seen by the random map scripting engine as a number. So we do it this way because we presume that it's easier to remember the numbers, or to remember these symbols, these characters, than it is to remember the numbers. Like somebody might look at the queue and say, oh, well that could be quicksand. And let's go and check and see, go over and scroll down to number 46, and that is indeed DLC quicksand. So, and this actually has a predefinition of its own, and we use some of these predefinitions in here. So the number one goal that we're going to have for remastering this map to contain multiple biomes is to remove those predefinitions, and I'll explain why. So when we go to generate a map that has multiple options, we need to give it a chance of spawning each biome, right? So the way that we do that is with random statements. So we're going to add start random, and we're going to add end random. All right, and then the way that this works is each option that we want has to have a specified % chance. So there we go. So we start random, end random, and then we give it a 50% chance of spawning either case. And then what happens is the random map scripting engine will see this % chance, and it will look for something to happen. And it'll make all of those things true until it reads the next line of % chance, and then it'll make all of those other things true. So for this % chance. So if we give something a 50% chance, then it has a 50% chance. So we're going to define something to be true, and we're going to say Mediterranean theme. Oh boy. Is that even spelled right? Let's see. You know what? Let's just Google it real quick. Make sure that my spelling, engineers write good. And we're going to make sure that we spelled Mediterranean correctly. Oh, come on. Okay. Yeah, that looks right. So we're going to have 50% chance of the Mediterranean theme, and then we're going to define a 50% chance of a remaining theme, and we're going to add one more, but we're just going to do a second one for now because that's simpler. And the hard part will be configuring a script that was not intended really to have multiple themes, even though it should have been designed that way from the beginning. So we're going to define a % chance, a remaining 50% chance of a North America theme. Alright. Because I'm from North America, and I have been waiting for maple trees to show up for a long, long time. Okay, so we've got these chances of two different themes here. 50% chance for Mediterranean, 50% chance for North America. So then what does that mean for the script then? So we say, let's say that we go through and half the time we define a Mediterranean theme, and then the other half of the time we define a North American theme, what does that mean? You know, because if we just left that there, nothing would happen. It would say, all right, that's nice. North American theme is true. That's fine. I'm just going to keep generating the map the way that I would have generated the map. So here's where it comes in. We then write a conditional, and that conditional is if Mediterranean theme, else if North America theme. Okay, and we always have to end with an end if for the conditionals. So we've got a 50% chance of the Mediterranean theme being true, North America theme being true, and now we go in here and we do like definitions in the case of Mediterranean theme. So we choose terrains. We can actually put these in up here now. So we choose these terrains. If Mediterranean theme is true, we know that these terrains will work because we have a working map. Now, if we ran this right now, it might not work, and I will explain why. So let's do that, and then let's run this, and we could see it break. This is a fine configuration. This looks okay. Let's do this again. Okay, so as you can see, this doesn't work. So what happened? You know, why did our map break down? The reason that our map broke down is because for this particular seed, it chose the North American theme, and then none of these are defined. So what it will do is anytime later in the script that Q or V or B or any of these other constants that we defined are invoked, because it doesn't know what they are, it will assume that they are grass. And when it assumes that they are grass, well, bad things happen. I mean, it's not able to execute what it's supposed to execute if they're all grass. There's all kinds of commands in there, like spacing other terrain types, blah, blah, blah. So if they're all the same terrain, those spacing to other terrain types does not apply. And we're just left with this kind of mess here, which actually this would be kind of interesting to play. But it would be a very quick game. I mean, you just have the wood around your town center, and once that was gone, you would be in big trouble. This would be Mongolian heaven right here. They would come out and they would take the deer. They would maybe go up quickly to the feudal age, maybe use the last of their wood to build a stable if they even have enough wood. I don't even think there's enough wood to get up to the feudal age. So it would probably just be an endless rush till somebody resigned out of frustration. So, yeah, not really what we want to do. All right, so to avoid that for now, we are going to give the Mediterranean theme a 100% chance and the North American theme a 0% chance for now. And then we can always change these percentages later. So now, if we keep the same seed and we hit generate, we will go back to the Mediterranean theme. All right. So, what's next? Well, next we have to go through and we have to find every place, because we need to do these definitions because we're going to change these numbers depending on the biome. So we need to go through the script and we need to find every case of something being using a predefined terrain or object for that matter. And we need to write it down. Also, what we should do is for everything that is changed in this way, and we could actually make a note of it, defining maybe original. I can say something like original. No, that's fine. So I will be taking notes because we're going to have some objects that are going to depend on this. And I believe that we also have our spreadsheet. For anyone that's scripted with me before, you know that I have a compiler that reads a spreadsheet. And there will be some object definitions in that spreadsheet as well. So I'll just show you. So these are all the objects that we have, and indeed you can see that some of these objects require certain types of terrain as well. So we're going to do the whole, Control F and replace and everything like that. But I just need to make sure that I get these changed on the spreadsheet as well. So I will be recording what I changed these to, so that these objects, if I ever go to update them on the spreadsheet, which I'm sure that I will, because object generation has received a big overhaul in this patch. So I'm going to want to update the way that my spreadsheet works as well eventually. So we'll take note of that so that we can make sure that the objects are placed correctly in the future. But for now, we're just going to take note of this. So we got road. So we'll write that down. Write down road. Okay. And then what else? DLC rock is predefined, and we're using that. Alright, DLC beach 2. Okay. DLC water 5. So we got that here. Okay. And then we also have just water. Now water has a unique trait that it has the property set flat terrain only. So we have to keep that in mind. It's one of the few terrains that has that ability, or that hard-coded feature. So if we replace this with something else, it might not be getting set flat terrain only, so we'll have to add it. Actually, you know what? We can just do that right now. So we're gonna add set flat terrain only, because with water it does it automatically. We're going to be changing this out to different types of things, so now we know it's going to get it. So we know it has it right now, and it'll always have it now that we've added it. So let's see. DLC rock we already have. Road we already have. DLC dirt 4. We already have that as well. Or we don't have that. So I will write that down. DLC dirt 4. Okay. And there's V. Some of these are being placed as placeholders, create terrain MF. DLC dirt 4. Dirt 2. There we go. Don't want to miss that. I believe that dirt 2 is a placeholder. I don't really think we have it anywhere, but we'll write it down anyway. I believe MF stands for Mediterranean Forest. Alright. And this is just repeating the command to make sure that we get all of these player forests. Okay. Alright, here's some dirt. Write that down. Alright, DLC Savannah. So we got that. So these are masks. Major neutral forests. Yeah, nothing predefined there. The DLC rock we already have. Okay, looks good. Looks good. Aha! So there's grass 3, and then there's grass. Okay, so I believe that we have everything. As you can see, we get to the end here, and we know we're done when we hit objects generation. So now let's go back up to the top, and let us define all of these terrains now. So these are the ones we started with. New terrains, no longer predefined. Just to help me, you know, take some notes and make sure we don't lose anything. Alright. So, we're going to have constant road, constant DLC rock, constant DLC beach 2. Alright. Constant DLC water 5. Constant DLC constant water. DLC Dirt 4. Dirt 2. Constant Dirt. Constant DLC Savannah. Constant grass 3, and constant grass. Now, I believe that we could run this as is, and I think it would run normally. We haven't defined what these constants are, but it already knows what they are because they're predefined. So they're not doing anything. And if we define them as something clearly wrong, for instance, let's come over here to the sheet now, and we will, this sheet. Alright, so I put up a sheet that is our updated reference. And this has a list of all the terrains on it, what they're predefined as, and their constant ID numbers. So we need these ID numbers. And we're now going to put these ID numbers in for each of these to make sure that we have unique numbers here and we have everything straight. So for the road, come down here and we're going to find road is number 24. For DLC rock, I believe that one is 40. Yep. DLC beach 2. Here we go, 51. DLC water 5, 58. Water is number 1. It's one of the first ones. DLC Dirt 4. Let's see. 42. Dirt 2. Number 11. Dirt, I think, is number 6. Yep. Savannah. This is one of the newer ones added with the African DLC. Not too far. There we go, 41. Grass 3. Going to be up here somewhere. There we go, number 9. And grass is going to be 0. So these are now defined correctly, and if we went back into the game and we ran it, there would be no impact at all, because it already knew what those were. Even if we did something like this, let's say that we came in and we changed. See how we have some road terrain on like the side here on these cliffs? Even if we went back and changed the road terrain to the same number as DLC black. So we came over here and we said, let's make those cliffs black. Even if that's what we did. So DLC black. 47. So even if we came over here and made this 47, could we get black cliffs? No, we can't, because even though we've defined the road that way, road is predefined. It already knows what road is, and we can't change that number. However, if we did something such as, so road, one sec here. So road was what, 24? Let's make sure I don't forget. Okay, 24. So if I did something like I did Control F now. Control F. And instead of road, we replaced it with roadie. Is that the right name for it? No, no way. That's very, very hard to guess what that is. Alright, but if we did that, with our definition at 47 now, when we hit run, we can see that our cliffs are now oil slicks. And that, frankly, looks terrible. We don't want that. But that gives you an idea of what we're, maybe a little bit of a taste of what we plan to do here. So we're going to go 24. We're going to set it back the way that it was, and we're going to give it a more meaningful name this time. What do you guys think we should name it? We could name it something like Cliffy. You know, we got to be careful about using something that's too obvious, because maybe somewhere there is actually some object or some other command that's called cliff. So we can't call it cliff, because if, you know, it might work for that one, but if we get in this habit of calling things what they obviously are, and there's like some other thing that is also that thing, it could confuse it. So I think that we should just call it Cliffy, or Cliff Face, or something like that. But you can't just name it up here, right? You have to do a find, and we need to find Roadie and replace it with Cliff Face. Roadie, and replace that with Cliff Face. Alright, there we go. Oh no! Silk Road, except our find function was not properly constrained. And it changed it somewhere else. Well, let's hope there's no more of that somewhere else in the script. So now when we hit run, it should be back to normal. No, it is not. Uh-oh. We're going to hit a bunch of Control Z's here. Okay, so this road should be correct. And so I've hit Control Z a bunch of times. And now when I hit generate, okay, it does go back to the way that it was, which is a good starting point. Thank goodness for Control Z, saving everybody. Okay, so we're gonna need to change these names first. And we're gonna do them one at a time. So we're gonna find this, and I think we need to say like match case. There we go. So this is not gonna be part of it. Should not be part of it. And what's this? Match whole word. There we go. So, okay, so we need those two selected. So now we replace that with cliff face. Good. So let's do that to DLC Rock as well. And we can call that like outcrop or something like that. So DLC Rock, we're going to call that outcrop or outcropping. I'm going to replace that. DLC Beach 2. I don't even know where DLC Beach 2 is. I guess it's, I guess that's what this is out here. It's got a little bit of seaweed on it. You can sort of see it. So we will target that. And we can call this shoreline or something. So we'll say DLC Beach 2 replace with shoreline. Alright, DLC Water 5. I think that's pretty easy. DLC Water 5. And we're going to replace that with something good. Let's see, I think that's the shallower water. I don't think we want to call it, I guess we could just call it like immediate or like, let's just call it shallow water. I think that's fine. I don't think there's anything predefined as shallow water. And now we're going to do water, and we're going to replace that with normal water. So we'll make that replacement as well, because we know that water is immediately after that. I think a lot of these are placeholders, but perhaps not. DLC Dirt 4, we're just going to have like, I think, let's see, where is the Dirt 4? I guess it's mostly in here, right? And it's masked with some other stuff. So we're going to have that be like Land Terrain 1 or something like that. So we're gonna search here. We're going to find this. And we're going to do Land Terrain 1. Not very helpful. Not very... It doesn't really tell us where it is the thing. You know, the other ones kind of tell us where they are. But maybe we'll think of a smarter name for it later. Dirt 2. Alright, so we're going to call this one Land Terrain 2. The reason why I think we have so many of these is because they could be in the land generation too. Dirt is going to be Land Terrain 3. Dirt is going to be Land Terrain 3. DLC Savannah. Guess what? Land Terrain 4. And then we're just going to go 5 and 6. Now, as we experiment with these, we might find out what they are and give them more meaningful names. Land Terrain 5. And then finally, Land Terrain 6. It's only in one spot. Alright, well, I guess it's not that important. Okay, so now we've made all those replacements. We have no predefined terrains on our map at all. We haven't done anything with the objects yet. We could do stuff with the objects later. Or I might just work on that later off stream. Because the objects could be a little bit more complex. Especially given that they have a spreadsheet. I'm not going to mess with the objects right now. I'm just going to show the terrains. And I think the terrains will be good enough to get the point across for how to do this. And I'll fine-tune it off stream. So now when we hit go, same seed, and sure enough, same map. All the terrains were defined the same way. So this is where the fun begins now. So we got all this. If you made it this far into the video, putting up with me talking, sipping water, taking pauses, but ultimately getting this list of things and getting everything in the script changed out. So let us try to do a North American theme now. So we're going to copy these over. And, oops, I wanted to copy them. Did not want to remove them. So we want these exactly the way that they are for the Mediterranean theme. That's what works. So now we're going to copy this and paste it down here. And this is going to be the North American theme. Again, if we ran the script right now, nothing would happen. Number one, because these are all the same, but number two, because North American theme is never true. Now, we're going to make it true all the time. So now that we've got this Mediterranean theme locked away, we're going to set its % chance to 0 and not mess with this. And then we're going to come down here and mess with this instead. So, what shall we change first? Well, I kind of want to try the new forests out. Let's see what we have for forest terrains. We've got, oop, not that one. So terrains. So the Mediterranean forest is 88. So we're going to be replacing this one then. So we're going to change the number here. And it gives us some options. So these are new forests that have been added. They have lush bamboo forests. They have yellow shallow water. What? They have yellow shallow and they have yellow deep water. Okay, so it looks like from the pre-definitions here, we don't have maple forests, which is kind of dumb if you ask me. Like, where are the maple forests? So we could very easily, just by changing a number here, Let's come over here and let's make this 113 in the North America theme. Not that I am, oops, not that I'm claiming that there's any bamboo in North America. I mean, there sort of is. We have a lot of knotweed, but it's an invasive species, and I don't believe it was here during the Middle Ages. Alright, so I changed this over to 113, which is the lush bamboo forest, and this is a new forest that was added. And so if I ran that, you would be able to see that now we've got this lush bamboo forest terrain here on the map, and that could be pretty useful for an Asian theme. But an Asian theme is not what I'm going for. I want a North American theme. So it's a little bit awkward. The Greek ruins, who cares, right? We can change that out later. We're basically just looking at the terrains for now. We still want to maintain the basic look and feel of the map. We want this prairie here. So I think what I will do is use an old Indian trick. And I will actually change this to pine. And we're gonna see if we can get a proper maple forest going here. I don't want any of these crap bamboo forests. I mean, it looks cool, but I wanted to make a North American themed with all kinds of maples, because where I live, maple trees are everywhere. Not Chinese maples, but sugar maples, the good kind. The kind that you can make maple syrup from. Alright, so let's replace this with basic pine forest 19. Okay. So we're going to put 19 in here instead. In that case. So we rerun it, and we should have pines here instead of Mediterraneans. And actually, honestly, this could make an interesting steppe type map. There's the steppes of Northeast Asia are, you know, very dry as well. Bushes, everything. So, you know, this is almost correct in and of itself. I mean, probably don't want the limestone cliffs here, the big white cliffs. That looks a little bit out of place, but otherwise, I mean, we could make an entirely different biome just by changing the trees. I think that's a little bit cheap, though, and I don't want to do that, but if I were in a bind, I would. So we're going to do something else now, and that thing is we are now going to change the rules of the game. So take one long last look at those pine trees, ladies and gentlemen, because I'll have to restart the game to get those back. We are going to do effect amount, and we're going to do Gaia set attribute. Actually, we could just do set attribute, honestly. Okay, set attribute pine tree. I believe that is correct. And then attr terrain ID. And we're going to make those pine trees spawn on something else like terrain number 13. So basically it's going to find all pine tree objects. I believe that is correct. Let's just double check and make sure that pine tree is a real thing. I'm pretty sure that it is, but there might not be a space here. Pine. Alright, so there is no underscore. So therefore we will get rid of this underscore. And this will do one of two things. It will either work and remove the pine trees, or it will crash the game. And we're not going to know until we hit generate. It's somewhat unpredictable. Okay, well, it worked. Alright, I seem to recall doing that before, so that's why it worked. Maybe I was able to pull into some memory that I didn't know that I had. Okay, so now what are we going to do? Well, we are going to define an object now. For the first time, we're actually going to add some. So, you know, you're going to get a little bit of the blend of objects in here. I'm not going to drag you through the minutia of going through my spreadsheet and like really digging into which object looks the best or anything like that. I'm just going to create a maple forest using objects, and you get the idea. So we're going to do constant and we're going to do something like, I don't know, maple tree, I guess. And we're actually going to have this up here as well, and we better put it in all of the biomes. So defining forest tree type. So we've got this empty forest terrain, right? The terrain itself is being put down, but we've changed the rules of the game to make it so that the tree that's supposed to go on this can't. And what that will do is that leaves room for our other tree that we want to put down. So we note that the leaf, the leaf background is acceptable. It's good forest floor. So let's see what we can do with that. So we've got maple tree in this case, and now we're going to go through and we're going to actually find the definition for maple in the objects, the updated objects. So I should be able to hit Control F, and I should, if these spreadsheets were updated. Zetnus is a friend of mine, and he is very diligent about updating these. And ordinarily, I would be using the Advanced Genie editor, but for some reason, after the patch, it doesn't work for me anymore, and I have to troubleshoot. But I wanted to get this video out. All right, so we've got a couple of choices. I'm just going to do the green maples for now. So 2027. Okay. And we're going to put these maple tree objects down on that specific terrain type. So, but first though, before I forget, just for good housekeeping purposes, because we're going to be, we're going to introduce the possibility of the Mediterranean theme after we know that we get this North American theme working. And we don't want it to try to, because we're actually changing the script now to put tree objects in, we don't want it to try to put these maple tree objects in but not have them defined, because it'll throw an error. So we're going to define them, and we're just going to define them as something useless. And I believe actually that this new patch also introduced a placeholder, on-grid placeholder. So let's do on-grid. Oops. Maybe. Okay. On-grid, no terrain restrictions. So this is a land placeholder on grid. We're just going to define it as 1544. All right, so if the Mediterranean theme is chosen, then this rule change will not be implemented, and the Mediterranean forest, which is number 88, will just spawn normally. But if the North American theme is chosen, then the rule change will take effect, and it will actually try to put a physical tree down. Whereas with the Mediterranean theme, it would try to put something down, but that something would just be empty placeholders. So it wouldn't actually do anything. So we're going to use this to create a maple forest. So the last thing for us to do is to go down to Objects Generation. Let's see. Objects. Oh, shoot. We don't want to... Whatever. I'm just going to scroll down. I know where it is. I'm not sure why I can't. Oh, because it's not the exact case anymore. We changed some settings. Oh, well, all right. So we got some objects here. And we're just going to... Whatever. We're just going to copy one of these. Let's find one that looks good. All right. Here we go. So this looks good. Okay. We're going to do it before Objects Autoscribe. Okay. We're not going to have a temp min distance group placement. The terrain that we are going to place on is going to be Maple Forest. Or actually, sorry, it's not Maple Forest. We haven't defined that. It's going to be MF, Mediterranean Forest. That's what's defined. Our second object is going to be Maple Tree, though. So we put down this on-grid placeholder just to bypass any terrain restrictions. And then we put down these maple trees. And it's trying to fill the map with all of them. I think that we need to do 10,000 here, and set scaling to map size. So this is like, let's do 9320, just because it's the one that I know. So this should generate infinite maple trees on the requested terrain. So now, when we hit go, we should have, sure enough, our maple forests here. Nice. You know, we kind of have, it looks pretty rocky for maple trees. And I might work on the aesthetics of it a little bit more. You can see that we've got some bushes with these maple trees. I also feel that the maple trees are too green, you know, too bright lime green, I think. Or at least it gives me very spring vibes, but everything else is kind of dead, you know. So let's see what we can do about getting some terrains in here that are a better fit for our trees. But that's how, even though there aren't any maple forests, that's how you would make a maple forest given the new patch. So, and of course you can spawn these maple trees as tree objects at any time. And the deer accurate for North America. So let's go back up to the top, and let's start changing out other terrains here. We have terrains that, you know, have some kind of clear function, I guess. So maybe we can address those first. We don't really have white cliffs like this. So what if we made these like a darker, rocky and muddy type of cliff? I think that would actually look a little bit better. So let's address the cliff face, and let's give that a more dark rock look. Let's see what kind of terrains are available for us to choose from. But I have one in mind. I'm thinking non-navigable rock beach. Somewhere in the 80s here. Yeah, look at that. Number 82, beach non-navigable wet rock. Right here. So we'll do that one. So let's replace our cliff face. 82. Alright. And then let's do the outcropping terrain as mud terrain, which is number 76. So, you know, here in North America, it's kind of rocky, muddy. It's not really like dry rock, though. There's a lot of rain, a lot of precipitation. So we're going to do the rocks first and then work our way into the terrains later. All right, so I think that looks a lot better. The beach, though, beach does not look reasonable. I don't think we want a white beach. We probably want a gravel beach. So let's come over here and let's find the gravel beach. Gravel beach is going to be in the 100 somewhere. Gravel beach, there it is, 108. So we have shoreline 108. What do we want to do for shallow water? Well, you know, do we want lily pads? What do we want? We got to kind of think about terrain compatibilities as well. Let's not get too complicated. Let's just make our shallow water equal to our regular water. We're going to try to keep these all unique because everything else is unique. So, and then we're going to do our normal water as medium water, which is going to be up here somewhere. It's going to be 23. So that should help our water out a bit. Hey, Hugh Coyote, welcome. Hugh Coyote saying, I'll only be here for half an hour or so. Well, you might be here longer than me then. But I also noticed yesterday that the new pasture trains look quite good for temperate to cold grasslands, which is kind of where I live. So you can see that we've got a coastline that looks a little bit more appropriate for like a rocky, muddy shoreline. So yeah, Hugh, let's see. Your timing is actually really good. Let's see if we can experiment with some of the grasslands here, because we got these really bright lime green maple trees. But we have like dry terrain that doesn't really match them. And I've already explained that we're gonna change the objects a little bit later. But the objects are less important. The important thing is to get the terrains looking right. So let's see here. What else do we have to work with? So we've got quicksand, gravel. B is some kind of beach terrain, I would assume, but I don't really see it. BF is bush forest. I don't think we really need to play with that, although it could be interesting actually. If BF stands for bush forest, it could be interesting to replace these with birch trees, but I'm going to leave them as bush for now, because I think that bushes do look good on the edge of forests. And where I live, it's rarely just maples, right? The maples are usually mixed with something. I'll tell you what. Let's have a little bit of fun, shall we? The one with ID 117 is the greenest pasture terrain, and then there's 118 through 121. Yep, that's true. So here's what I'm going to do. Let's have a little bit of fun. Let's define. So we got our maple tree defined, and let's define white birch tree, and let's define our white birch tree. For the Mediterranean theme, we're going to have it be something useless again. Oops, because we don't actually want it for that. The Mediterranean forests are sufficiently mixed, in my opinion. But we're going to copy this, and we're going to put this down here now. And we're going to add our white birch tree in, because the maple birch forest is pretty common where I live. So, let's see. Oops, those are the terrains. We need the objects. We're going to find birch, which is available a long time ago, and this is 1717. You can do this with all kinds of stuff. You know, there's more stuff in this area to mix. But that's what we're going to have. So we're going to come down here now. Oops, back down to the objects generation. Oops. Overshot. Here we go. So, there we go. All right. Now we could change it to white birch tree, and that's what we're going to do. So we're going to give this white birch tree. But we need to make sure that there's enough space for our original maple trees. So therefore, we're going to give this a temp min distance group placement of 1. And this is going to spatter those white birch trees in, space them a distance of 1, and then the maple trees are going to fill in the rest. So it should look pretty good. Let's see what happens. So as you can see now, we have some white birches scattered in there. We could use the same technique to add oaks and other things in there for a temperate North American forest. Okay, so now we're going to go and implement Hugh Coyotle's suggestion. He's saying the pasture terrains look pretty good. Well, let's see what we can do with those pasture terrains. So let's go up in the definitions. And we've got some different land terrains here. So probably the greenest one we want to put in the center. And the one that seems to be in the center right now is what was DLC Dirt 4, which is 42. So let's add 117 here and see what happens. This should affect the center. Oh yeah, look at that. How about that, huh? Okay, now let's add 118 through 121 for the remaining. 118, 119, 120, 121. Let's see what happens. See how close we get with this. We might have to do a little bit more tinkering and guessing and figuring, but yeah, look at that. Now the only disadvantage, I think this looks good on the mini-map. The only disadvantage is you can't see the transition between, because they all appear the same on the mini-map, you can't see the boundary anymore between the area with the hunt and the area outside of it. So I would try to be clever in the terrain masking to implement that. But I think that this looks pretty good, you know, and what the readability of the minimap, I think, is one of the smaller considerations. I think the players will more so rely on their memory of what they scouted and be like, oh, you know, the deer are all in here. They're all toward the center of the map. So now, if we implemented a random choice, we're going to get different versions of this. And some of them maybe have a little bit more water toward the edge. But yeah, the pastures are looking pretty good. So now, to kind of complete the circle, if you will, we will take this here, and we will make sure that we're not gonna, you know, make sure that adding those placeholders isn't gonna mess anything up with the Mediterranean theme. Come up this way, and we'll give them 50% chance of spawning. Boom, boom. So I hit generate, and you can see that this boundary is much better established for the Mediterranean theme. You know, this is clearly a grass on the inside, and this is clearly a dirt on the outside, and you can kind of see the different lobes. So I think that based on how the component spec is written, should do everything in our power to make those, to preserve the visibility of those lobes. But we can also look over here at the forests and confirm, yeah, you know, the forests are fine. They're not being messed with here. So there's the choice of 1 or 2 forests. We got another Mediterranean theme this time. Got another Mediterranean theme. Another Mediterranean theme. Wow, this random... There we go. Alright, so yeah, the random statements in Age of Empires are a little bit lacking. But so you can see now, you know, we could really dig into this, and we could redo the rocks, and we should redo the rocks, right? But my tooth is bothering me, so I'm not going to do that right now. But I think that this video is a good demonstration of how this would be done. How you can take an existing map that maybe wasn't built originally intended for multiple biomes, and you can very simply being careful, but using the find function, and making sure that all of these numbers retain their uniqueness, right? Because if these two things are the same, then you might start to have breakdown. You might have things that are supposed to be spaced to other terrain types, but then it's the same terrain, so it doesn't space properly, etc., etc., etc. If you have forests that you want to implement that don't have built-in forest definition, then we can kind of create those forest options. So now if I come over here and I actually test this, I should be able to come over here and just chop this maple forest on this generation. And come over this way. Haven't changed out the scout at all. He's still this heavy swordsman. So I should be able to chop these trees. And yep, sure enough, I got them chopped. And now I'm going to drop off the wood. You actually start with 2 scouts on ES Prairie, which is fun. So you can see that these villagers have dropped off a little bit of wood, enough wood to build a palisade, and I cannot build a palisade there. But if I chop this, so I can't build a palisade here, but I can build a palisade on that tree object. So you know that we've done this correctly, and that this isn't some kind of gimmick, and that indeed these tree objects being placed on forest terrain is what makes it so that they cannot be removed or built over until all of the contained wood that's stored within them is removed. So there you go, a little bit of a little demonstration on how to adapt an existing map to multiple biomes, or at least more than one. We gave you a specific example checking out the maple trees from the latest Age of Empires 2 patch, but certainly you could use any tree type of your choosing. We put down the new pasture terrains, and those look pretty good. We applied a new coastline, so yeah, I think this is pretty self-contained in the video. So I will go through and I will, in my own time, work in additional biomes, and I will also update some of the objects as well. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.